Okay, let's try and make this video without seeming like I have any sort of bias. I've made these videos before. We're talking about the war, sort of. We're not talking about what's happening in the war, but we're talking about the ripple effects that our government, through either acting too fast or taking too long to act or saying the wrong things or saying the right things to the wrong people, whatever it is, how that's having a massive ripple effect here in Canada. And it seems like there's bit of an uprising and it's getting a little bit out of hand, I would say. And I don't know too much about the history of Palestine. So I'm not talking about Israel has oppressed or hasn't oppressed Palestine. Like, leave that to the people that are living it and the professionals to make, those types of assertions. Today, we're just talking about the protests happening here. So if it triggers you, I'm sorry, but we're looking at facts, objective facts, and how there are these insane amount of protests happening here in Canada. Hopefully that came across as unbiased. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I want to encourage you to give a like and subscribe if you haven't yet already. It really helps grow the channel, as well as encourage you to turn post notifications on. It's that little bell icon that shows up. Once you are subscribed, it adds a layer of insurance to make sure you can get updated immediately for upcoming Canadian news. And if you'd like to support the channel, or if you don't and you just want a cool sticker, it doesn't matter to me, you can find the stickers that I have on my microphone. There's I Love Canadian Oil and Gas, and I did not see that coming, down in the description or the pinned comment below. Okay, without further ado, let's take a look at what's happening from just the recent events overseas, and then how the government has responded, and then how it's affecting everyone here in the West. So this is not Canada. I don't want anyone to think this is Canada. But we're going to look at Canada, but it's important to know what is happening in America and see what's happening in Canada and see the parallels. So this is, holy crap, we have our work cut out for us, deprogramming a whole generation of anti-Semites. This is a high school in San Francisco. Now, I need to be clear because apparently I've made these videos and it's pissed off lots of people, and people have been, emailing me and in the comments and unsubscribing, and I get it. Look, you're pissed. Everyone's pissed. Jews are pissed. Palestinians are pissed. Everybody's pissed. I don't have skin in the game. So I'm not going to say, oh my God, these people have been oppressed or have been oppressing for this amount of time. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just showing what's happening here in Canada. And if that pisses you off, then I've given my best shot to not piss everybody off, and it's obviously not working. So let's take a look at what is happening in a high school in the United States. Okay, so from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. You're hearing this around the world. Now, again, in order to not piss people off and not step out of my lane, I'm not going to go into what that means because people have very different interpretations. Some people think that means, well, apparently I'm going into it, but some people think that from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free is a call to get rid of all the Jewish people and get rid of Israel. And other people say, no, it's to fight through the oppression in which Israel has inflicted on Palestine. And then you have Israelis or Jewish people saying we're not oppressing anybody, blah, blah, blah. So, okay, regardless of who's right or who's wrong in that aspect, this is pretty wild that this is happening, and a lot of people are very afraid. Palestinians around the world are very afraid that the world doesn't care about them or their land or their people. Jewish people around the world are afraid because they feel like it's a Holocaust happening all over again. Who's right? Who's wrong? I don't know. I just think that this is getting out of hand, and the governments, I hate to say it, but the governments need to be a little bit more involved in what's happening here. It seems like the governments are worried about what's happening over there, which is obviously great. Humanitarian aid has already been provided to people that are trapped in Israel, and Canada is the first Western country to provide humanitarian aid as of October 20th, I believe, in Gaza. No other country, Western country, has done that. So that's actually quite good and progressive of Canada to take that initiative and say, look, Everyone's being affected by this. People in Israel being affected. People in Gaza are obviously being affected. There's like a 2 million plus population. More than half of them are kids. It's just insane what is happening. Now let's take a look at, because of the government's lack of actions here domestically, their words are focused on, and their actions are focused on what's happening overseas. And the government is obviously very conflicted on who to support, as if they need to pick a side instead of, preserving the innocence of civilians, women, and children and all that. So let's take a look at these protests that are what could be described, and I am guilty of saying, getting out of hand here in Canada. This is an anti-Israel protesters march in Mississauga. Among their chants is a call for genocide of the Jewish people. Now, obviously, that's not okay. We don't want genocide for anybody.
Free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine!
But again, you're getting conflicting either mis and disinformation or different interpretations of what that chant means. And so I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Look, I'm not going to take a side on this. I'm not going to say what I think that chant means, because this is all very new to me. And I'm not going to say something that I'm not fully educated on. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. You just heard it again. And this Twitter account has said that this is a call for genocide of the Jewish people. And if that's the case, that's obviously not okay. And the comments are, as you would expect, where's Justin Trudeau? Stoned in his room, perhaps. High on coke, talking about taking an hour on the Tower of People, just like Bobby Brown. And then you have Punch a Nazi, Western liberals looking at the slaughter of Jews. It's getting crazy, folks. It's getting crazy. And so there needs to be quite a bit of clarification, because what's happening is the fog of war. We're living through the fog of war right now. And my understanding of the fog of war is there's so much information from both sides trying to be the first to the punch, to say what's going on, or to immediately discredit what the other side is saying. And it becomes very confusing, right? I'm probably not the only one that's extremely confused on what the actual F is happening. That's called the fog of war, ladies and gentlemen. Now, what you're seeing is you have government officials that are taking immediate sides, even though there's a fog of war, such as the very recent bombing of the Gaza hospital that killed over 500 people that the IDF committed. Well, sort of. But then it turns out that the IDF didn't actually do that. President Biden went all the way to Israel. The crater was tiny, as we saw, in comparison to what the IDF has at their disposal. And it turns out that it didn't even hit a hospital, but it hit a parking lot. How many casualties were afflicted versus what was actually said at the beginning. So this is the fog of war, and it seems like you have to wait several days after an event happens in order to actually get the truth. But Canadian politicians, and actually just politicians in the Western world, are getting lost in the fog of war, and it's creating a division like we've never really seen before, where you had Justin Trudeau on a federal broadcast condemn the IDF for launching that bomb on the Gaza hospital. Then it turns out that it hit apparently a parking lot, and it wasn't even IDF. It was a rogue Hamas missile, but there's still inconclusive sort of evidence about that, because President Biden says that that's what happened. And Canada is saying they're doing their own investigation because they don't believe it. Other countries are saying that's what's happened. So you have all of these people with, apparently they know the truth. It's like that dude in high school that's like, bro, I got the best stuff, man. I got the best weed. Trust me, bro. And it's like, turns out to be oregano or something like that. So everyone's saying they have the truth. They have the information. They have the best stuff. And that is the fog of war. And it's creating these types of reactions from people within these countries, such as here in Canada. We're going to take a look at Karima's coverage now of the Toronto Palestine protests that are happening. It's just, it's wild. And when I'm saying it's insane, it's not like insane bad thing. I don't know. If you're calling for the extermination or the genocide of an entire, like the Jews, that's obviously not good. But I think a lot of people are there just to support them standing against oppression of their people, not for the killing of other people. And again, fog of war. So just the sheer numbers, the sheer objective numbers of the amount of people that are showing up to these protests, that's what's insane. Like, it's instantly happened. You have hundreds of thousands, millions of people out in the streets, and it's very intimidating. It's very, very intimidating.
Is there any units on Church Street?
Back up! Back up! Back up! Fucking Zionists, back up! We don't need them! Back up!
Yeah.
Please back, please back. Guys, please.
So you can see that, I mean, emergency powers have not been invoked as of yet, at least as of recording this video. But they do have horses. They have the cops on horses. They have the riot gear police that have already shown up, because it is quite intimidating. And that's how I'm sure quite a few people, in a very different way, but still in a way of, wow, this is overwhelming. And through the sheer amount of overwhelmingness, it can come across, I suppose, as intimidation. That's, I'm sure, how some people felt during, I hate to say it, and don't get mad, the Freedom Convoy, because there was so many people in the streets and trucks, and it was just like this big presence, right? It was a big presence. And now you're seeing this happen in a different way, where you're having people chanting things that could mean different things, and it's an overwhelming presence. And there's no snow to slow people down. It's not in the middle of winter, so there's a different terrain aspect to it. It also is happening in more larger cities than what the Freedom Convoy did. It seems like through just sheer numbers, there's more people that are showing up to this than that ever showed up to the Freedom Convoy, which was at the time Canada's largest protest. So it's just very incredible that this is happening, and our government is adding fuel to the fire by either spreading mis and disinformation, being too quick to the punch, getting confused in the fog of war, or not condemning these types of protests directly, but instead doing it indirectly, saying, well, Hamas protests or support for Hamas is not okay. And then you have some people that are embedded in these protests, whether it's intentional or non-intentional, that have openly supported Hamas and even the Taliban. And so it feels like it's getting out of hand. A lot of people are on full red alert, and the police departments across Canada are on full red alert. Our national defense right now, our security here in Canada, our intelligence, their heads are just spinning, going, oh my God, this is so insane. We thought the Freedom Convoy was a big workload. This is, I would argue, even bigger of a workload for all law enforcement involved. And it's going to be very interesting how this turns out. We have another angle here from Karima, who actually caught Toronto Sun columnist Brian Lilly down at the protest.
Mr. Lilly, we meet again. Just one question. A couple of weeks ago, Mr. Blundell said you were a tool for the Conservative government, for Doug Ford in particular. Do you agree with what Mr. Blundell says?
Dean Blundell's been fired from many places for a reason, and you can go fuck yourself and get out of my face.
Oh my God. All right. So you're having clashes of people at these protests. And it's just like, it seems like collateral damage. It seems like instead of focusing on the protests, people are using this opportunity to attack each other, which it is what it is. But anyways, we have Karima here saying this man walked past dozens of police, clearly agitated and muttering to himself. He spat on a protester, which led to a fight and ultimately his arrest. A potentially avoidable outcome with situational awareness and de-escalation. Let's take a look at this clip.
Help, gang! I'll fucking move you! And you can't! You don't fucking help me, you go!
Oh, if this is Toronto, so there's quite a few people that are unstable. Oh, he spat on somebody and then runs away, and then you have an entire mob. And this is the fear that police enforcement have of this happening, of a conflict of a pro-Israel protester going toe-to-toe, or anybody going toe-to-toe with a member of these protests, and then the horde of people, mobs of people, would basically just take physical action and try and eradicate the situation through physical violence. And that's what's scary. When you have thousands of people in the streets, it's just that horde mentality, that snap decision, fight or flight. And usually it goes to fight because I have all these people on my side. And this is a bit of a nightmare for policing. As someone who used to be in the military, I would hate to be a cop. I would hate to be a cop going through this. I would just want to sit on the sidelines, but I'm sure there's overtime pay involved with this, and a bunch of people are jumping to this opportunity. But Jesus, Murphy, this is just a nightmare, a logistical nightmare. You have Harrison Fulker from True North saying pro-Palestine protesters in Toronto chant, Justin Trudeau, your hands are red.
Justin Trudeau! 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 Canada, your hands are red! Canada, your hands are red! More than 1,000 children dead! More than 1,000 children dead! More than 1,000 children dead! More than 1,000 children.
I've got goosebumps listening to this. This is insane. Just like the sheer amount of support and people there. It's just, and also, I mean, what they're chanting about, more than 1,000 children dead. I mean, thousands of children have died from both sides of this, and it's just absolutely devastating. And then this sign right here is very important. It says, we may not live in Palestine, but Palestine lives in us. And I wish that there was some sort of angle, some sort of way that, pro-Israel supporters and pro-Palestine supporters could come together. And I'm going to sound like a total hippie, might as well be Green Party at this point, but could come together and maybe not hold hands, that's, and sing Kumbaya, but come together and blame the governments instead of each other. That's what you're seeing. You're seeing people that have Palestinian ties or are Palestinian that are clashing in the streets with people that are Israel or Israeli or have Israel ties. And it's like civilian to civilian. There shouldn't be any beef. Like Israel people here haven't done anything to Palestinian people here. I mean, it'd be very unlikely if they did. And so having both of these groups come together and blame the government for their lack of initiative, for their lack of this, that, whatever else, that would be fantastic. And I don't know if I can see this coming. You saw for a brief moment earlier this year, you had Christians and Muslims and other denominations or other religions come together for the first time in what seems like ever to stand up for protecting the innocence of children with a million person march. And I feel like that might have been the last time both different types of religions came together in support of something, because now it just seems like everyone wants to blame each other, civilian to civilian, and it's causing just so much negativity and hatred here in Canada. And I don't have the answers. I really don't. And I'm not picking a side. I'm not saying one is more guilty or more innocent than the other, because that would be irresponsible for me to do that. And if I have done that in the past, I do apologize. I really do. I think that the government needs to make some sort of statements and be more empathetic to both sides, both innocent sides. And that's where I'm going to end it. But I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree with anything I've said? Please let me know. I look forward to reading them when the video is posted. And that's it, folks. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give a like and subscribe if you haven't yet already. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.